Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
There was some energy out there in the world this weekend. If you were out on the streets, you probably felt it too. It was a scramble of a weekend to get those last-minute preschool year running around stuffs done. And, also some donating was going on. Stuff in the bus was happening to help out. That was located at Staples and to make sure that, kids have access to some really sweet stuff for the school year. And that's what parents are trying to do as well. School is back in session this week, so check yourself in those school zones, is what I'm saying. Drivers, heads up. I know it can be frustrating. We joke about it. You being stuck behind somebody slowing down in a school zone for no reason during the summer months. What are you doing, man? But you know what? It's a lot better than someone charging through when it is time to slow down to 30, right? Green Day announcing that they will have a very limited run, a sale of t-shirts featuring Donald Trump's mugshot. Now, it's actually a reworking of their Nimrod album art that now has the mugshot of Donald Trump behind it. They're calling it the Ultimate Nimrod t-shirt, and it's for a good cause as well, because the proceeds from this merch sale is going to be actually helping to bring food to those affected by the wildfires in Maui. They've teamed up with the Greater Good Music charity for the cause to make it, a fully official. Meanwhile, Tom DeLonge says that new Blink-182 album, and the one that he says is the best album they've ever made, is only weeks away. We don't actually have an exact date on when it's going to be dropping, and not even as a pre-sale or pre-save available for the album. They are doing a big tour currently still, hitting a few different dates across the pond and then coming back to the North America market to actually support this album once it does come out, or at least once we've got a release date for it. I'm sure it's on the way.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
It's a bit weird. It's hashtag PICKLEGATE. Almost none of the pickle jars actually say the word pickle anywhere on them. But it does make sense. Your brain's gonna go, wait, what? This sort of discovery has had people on the internet going, what? Recently, to the level that several pickle brands have had to make a comment about it. People are asking, nay, demanding answers to their questions. And most of the reasoning that these different pickle companies, there are a lot more than you even were aware of as well, but mostly the reasoning is universal between them all. They say, the pickle jar is just kind of a ubiquitous thing. Like we all know what a pickle jar looks like. We all know looking at a pickle jar that it contains pickles, most likely, and it's clear so you can confirm it pretty easily. But what matters more is telling buyers what, kind of pickles they are. Now you know. And now I'm hungry.
Great! Now I'm starving.
The Elks Football Club down in Edmonton, they won a game at home, and that is a big deal. It might be a bigger deal than you even realize. If you're not aware, it's the team that had the longest at-home losing streak in North America pro sports history. Let me emphasize that part. Not just that they had the current one, in the history of North American pro sports. Edmonton's team had the longest streak at 22 straight losses at home. They did not reach 23, and they will hold that title until some team does reach 23, but apparently it was previously set in 1953 by the St. Louis Browns of the MLB, St. Louis, and 20 was the number that they reached before they shifted to becoming the Baltimore Orioles in the next year. And then, took several decades, but the Elks took it with 22 straight losses at home, no longer running through the losing streak.
Tuesday.
Pumpkin spice ass wipes are real. Pumpkin spice ass wipes are a real product in the world. They're available. You can order them. And perhaps unexpectedly, the special edition product actually comes from a dude-forward brand called Dude Wipes. I've never even heard of them before, but now I have. Now it's in my brain. Dude Wipes. And in a move that I can, I only wish that I came up with as a punchline to this very break, they're calling the scent Dumpkin Spice. Of course, unreal. Inspired by clove, nutmeg, and other fall shit is what it says on the package. Take it with a grain of salt, though, because it also says on the packaging, flushable wipes, and we just know that that's not true. It doesn't matter how many asterisks or little, T's they add to it. No, they just don't flush. But, got me thinking, what other cliched smells could they make ass wipes out of, right? Pine forest, chocolate cocoa mocha, because they always love to add all three of those together, even though they all just mean chocolate. What about fresh linens for your sinnins, you know what I mean?
What smells like rosemary mint melon?
Nothing. Bye.
Are you going 30 in the school zone right now? Are you going 30? You gotta slow down, man. They're back in session again. 100.5 Cruise FM. Of course, parents are heroes to kids. Kids are just adorable to their parents. And you know what? In the name of safety, internet safety, hey parents, safety tip. Careful when posting those first day of school photos, right? At least the ones that include personal information with them as well. There's been a lot, and less so in recent years, but a big wave of the first day of school photos now including kind of like a cheat sheet of information. A lot of stuff in there is extraneous for the internet. Don't need it. Strangers don't need to know what grade. They don't need to know what school. They don't need to know teacher's name for sure. They don't need to know age. Just a backpack and a smile is gonna do it, right? And bottom line, besides the point, underneath all of it, paramount to the situation, no one but family really cares to see them anyway, so you can just text it to them. That's fine.
Wednesday.
We're talking about the high school days, but not the glorious ones. Not even necessarily high school. That's just, I think, where most of my embarrassment came from. But any kind of embarrassment that happened during the school year, when you were young, right? Think back. And it'll probably be one of those memories that won't be too hard to access because it's popped up in your brain random times in the middle of the night your entire life. Thinking about that one embarrassing moment. Tell me what that was when it was in school. 780-715-2789 in honor of a brand new school year. Got a couple responses so far. One text about peeing your pants during an assembly. Yeah, you don't like an audience. That's not good. Another about ripping a big fart during a school dance. Hopefully it wasn't during a slow song. That's all I gotta say. You can't hide that. There's no way you're gonna hide that. Not only are they gonna hear it, they're gonna feel it too if they're close enough. I did not get a single message, however, about being asked to prom by the most popular kid in school, going through a total physical makeover and out-of-shell transformation, only to find out that you were only asked out in the first place as a bet. I find that very weird, because that was like the plot of every third high school movie that I watched as a kid.
Hey Alexa, play the Steve Reeve podcast.
Duran Duran has got a new headline because they're going to be putting out a new Halloween-themed album. It's out in October, meaning they've likely already put a lot of the work into it. Some new original songs as well as some reworked old ones and covers of artists like Billie Eilish and the Talking Heads. It's called Danse Macabre, and October 27th is going to be the official release. John Travolta, Jason Momoa, Tommy Lee of Motley Crue, apparently all hanging out backstage at Pantera and Metallica gig just recently over the weekend, and huge party where they're on this big tour supporting their big album, and there's so many different videos and photos that are coming to the core. It's interesting to see, but the ones that are from the actual show floor, the mosh pit, are of course the more interesting ones. The backstage ones, everyone looks all posed and nice, and you can almost see the band's makeup, whereas the ones that are on the floor are really cool to see, especially the ones of Jason Momoa, because he's right in the thick of it, and of course nobody can bug him. And sad news to end off with this morning: the guitarist for Whitesnake, the original guitarist, Bernie Marsden, has passed away at the age of 72. His death was confirmed by former bandmate David Coverdale, and he was 72 years old, peacefully at home with his wife and daughters last week. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, John Oliver, Jimmy Kimmel, and Seth Meyers, all late-night talk show hosts with no late-night talk shows since May. And, what else do fully grown white guys do when they have nothing to do together for a few months? Yep, they have started a podcast. They're calling it Strike Force 5, which I just love. But the goal is to raise money for the out-of-work staffers during the ongoing WGA writer's strike. People that are not working because there's no late night shows on TV right now. A noble effort for sure, and I do hope it succeeds, but I do have a feeling this is going to be a bit like when the late night hosts all had to pivot to becoming YouTubers during COVID. Remember that? let's just say it was dark times for many, many reasons.
Thursday.
Do you remember that time, that window of time when text messaging was readily available? You know, just about everybody is able to do it, but cell phones weren't smartphones yet. It was a very specific point in history. No internet connection available, basically. That's what it meant. So to find out something on your phone, you would have to text a service, basically a call center of people, a text center of people ready to type your question into Google and then text the correct information back to your non-smartphone. That is how it worked back then. That sounds insane to me now in the context of 2023. And the other thing is that no one would even believe the information coming back to them nowadays anyway. All kinds of question marks about it. Is that fake news? Is that fake? I don't know. Now, just give me a minute here. I'll be right back. I just need to call the local theater and listen to a recording of every single movie on Showtime and hope that the one I want to go see is first on the list. BRB. Police in Nebraska pull over a vehicle with a gigantic bull riding along. It's not too close to here, sure, but this is very much related to Alberta in a certain way. Specifically, in this case in Nebraska, it was an African Watusi bull named Howdy Doody, towering out of a modified sedan, riding along the road, and the police, they took notice. They were around, and apparently didn't make any citations, but did tell the driver, hey, there's a lot of issues here, and if you could just please maybe take the bull home, which he did. But it's like Bailey Jr. the Buffalo 2.0, isn't it? An echo of an ultra Albertan story. Those who know, and every so often, back in the day, you would be able to see Bailey Jr. standing passenger side of that slick red Pontiac Parisienne going through the McDonald's drive-thru right here in town, or, taking part in different parades and things around the province. Bailey Jr. and the humans, Jim and Linda, who raised him from birth, they actually hail from Spruce Grove, so not directly right around here, but unfortunate news as well. The big friendly buffalo did die back in 2008, so if that's, been a question mark, a loose back of the mind question mark, when do we see Bailey Jr. anymore? Unfortunately, we can't. So I guess long live Howdy Doody of Nebraska.
Thanks for listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruise FM.
Tragically hip in the news, it's been 25 years since Phantom Power released in July of 1998, and they're now dropping a deluxe box set edition, a 25-year celebration of it, including, of course, the single Bob Cajun, one of the biggest on there, but 5 new unheard songs are going to be released with it as well. It's coming out November 3rd for the 25th anniversary, though they did put one single out as a teaser this week. Speaking of re-releases, the Talking Heads say that it was a very healing experience for every member of the band getting back together for the first time in 20 years to celebrate the 40-year reissue of Stop Making Sense, which was their concert film from 1983. And ABBA not wanting to leave everything to the Avatars. Apparently Agnetha has got a brand new single herself out called Where Do We Go From Here, and has announced an album A+. It's her first in a decade, and in fact, the one from 10 years ago is celebrating a 10th anniversary this year as well. What's the worst thing that you can possibly imagine a truckload of spilling onto the side of the highway? Was your answer bees? Was your answer 5 million bees? Because this just happened yesterday near Burlington, Ontario, on the Guelph line, apparently. There's photos now, several bee boxes. It's very sad. They spilled off of the back of a truck that was trying to transport them to a new home. Apparently something, ran across the road, swerve happened, no actual collision, but the load got dropped off on the ditch. And thankfully, driver's okay. But 5 million bees had to be dealt with. And for the most part, they have been collected. Most of the hives have been, collected. And, a great number of the bees are just fine. That's why there are so many insects. Some will die, and then there's the whole hive of them left behind. But speaking of left behind, kept a few of these wooden hives in place along the highway, and they're saying anybody who's driving through the area, first of all, avoid if you don't have to be there, but if you are, roll up those windows, because they have to keep them there so that those bees will return so that they can be collected again later. I'm sorry for that.
Friday.
Have you heard about Storm the dog? Yeah, not a story from right here in town, actually all the way down in L.A. At the Metallica concert. They had a huge concert there, the Metallica 72 tour, and just unreal amounts of celebrities that were showing up at the concert. Backstage, Dave Grohl was there, Jason Momoa was there, people from Pantera. It was a crazy, crazy time. But capturing people's imaginations and attentions even more than that is Storm the dog. Now, this is because a lot of people were thinking, who brought a dog into a concert? How irresponsible. And, I might be inclined to think that as well, except for the fact that the truth of the story is that Storm snuck out of her house, which is across the street from the stadium, and walked in all by herself. I mean, maybe it was on her bucket list. She just needed to see Metallica, just needed to make it happen. She was reunited safely with her actual family the next day after spending a night with the Metallica family. They've got a post that we just shared up there directly from Metallica that includes Metallica song title Dog Puns, saying that Storm's favorite songs might have included Barks Eterna, Master of Puppies, and The Mailman That Never Comes. That's the kind of thing that I wish that I came up with myself for the joke. Starting with Blink-182. Unfortunately, they've had to postpone some shows in the UK and Ireland. No new dates rescheduled just yet, but the reason being an urgent family matter. Very much hoping that it's not too urgent, that it's taken care of. But Travis, unfortunately, had to return to the States, and more dates, as soon as possible. They're going to let people know. Not that I'm guessing anybody around here has tickets to those shows across the ocean. And it's not that often that a concert film forces a blockbuster movie to push its date, but that's what happened thanks to Taylor Swift. If you hadn't heard, the summer belongs to Taylor, and her concert film from the Eras Tour is going to be hitting in theaters a little bit later on in October 13th specifically, and that was going to be the release of The Exorcist Believer, but Jason Blum, the producer, has said they've moved the date, they've pushed it a little bit, and he said, look what you made me do. Only smart. And sad news to end off with. Dire Straits guitarist Jack Sonny has died. He was the guitar player for, a long time in their biggest album, Brother in Arms. Died at the age of 68, and it was confirmed yesterday by Dire Straits social media. Dad logic it's hilarious to me sometimes. Hilarious. And you might have heard, you might have seen, there's a new Super Mario game that's been announced called Super Mario Wonder. And at a glance, it's basically the answer to, what if Super Mario ate mushrooms for real? Like magic mushrooms? It looks great, I'm just saying. But there's more than one princess that you can choose to play as. In addition to Princess Peach, you can also play as Princess Daisy. Why am I telling you all this? Well, the reason why that's possible is the most dad reason I have ever heard. The director of this entire video game said that his two daughters have, in the past, always fought over who gets to play as Princess Peach. Sure, parents, you can imagine your kids having similar fights over playable characters, or even when you were younger, maybe, but still. They fought over it. He said, including this Daisy character in this game as a playable will help resolve fights within my own household. Well played, Dad. Well played. And yes, that's a gaming joke.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruise FM.